What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs, and in today's video, I'm going over Week 2's tournament plays. So if you guys are looking for the cash play, so double ups, head-to-head, stuff like that, check out the video I posted yesterday. Today's play is if you're doing, tournament, large fields, single entries, small field, whatever it is, but just to get different from the field. From the really safe, really good matchup plays that everyone's going for, and look at some more tournament. So at quarterback, I'm going kind of the low 6K range. This is where I like my quarterbacks for tournaments, and that's Bo Nix at 6,100 against Indy. Granted, Indy played Miami; they looked really good against Miami, or maybe Miami looked really bad. But regardless, Indy's defense did play really good. They caused a lot of turnovers on Tua. But Indy is now down two of their starting corners. Bo Nix and Denver's offense, did kind of struggle in the pass game. The run game looked really good, really efficient, but the pass game wasn't there. So I do like Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton in tournaments now because of that. Before it was kind of, Denver's defense is really good. Indy's offensive line is really good, and if they could be good, we could see a really good game. But I'm just going for the passing game of Denver against Indy. So Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton, both those guys I like. And then Jared Goff at 6K against Chicago. Kyler Gordon ruled out already again. So Kyler Gordon plays a slot for the Bears. Unfortunately, the Lions' best receiver is a slot receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I do like the Jared Goff Amon-Ra connection for Week 2 against the Bears. So that one's a really good one. And then Dak Prescott, 5,900 against the Giants. I am concerned about the Giants' defensive line against the Cowboys' offensive line against the Giants' defensive line. Now, the Eagles' defensive line, I like most, really like the Eagles defense as a whole. They have Vic Fangio. They have a lot of returning pieces, a lot of younger pieces. But when you have one of the best defensive tackles out before they even play, I mean, that is a huge blow. But to that aspect, Dallas's offensive line still held up pretty damn good. They were able to actually run the ball. They scored rushing touchdowns, which I didn't think was possible. But in this game for Dallas, I'm looking at the passing aspect of their offense. I'm looking at Dak Prescott. I'm looking at CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens. Those three to have a really, really good Week 2. Going just a little bit lower, we're going to go to Caleb Williams, 5,400 against Detroit. On the other side of that, when you consider that Caleb Williams, granted he had a rushing touchdown, but he still scored you 24 DraftKings points in that showdown, and he's only 5,400 against this Detroit team, the defense, to where Caleb Williams had some success against them last season as well. Ben Johnson, that whole, we know it, right? I don't need to deep dive into it. But when you take into consideration the division game on the road, they're 6-point dogs, so Vegas is expecting Chicago to be down by almost a touchdown, which means we're probably going to see more passing out of them. And there were some highs in that game for Chicago. It seemed like we're getting the opposite of my Bears, where last season the first half was terrible, and then the second half is where the offense really started to pick up, but by then they were too far behind. But this time we've seen and this is going into the preseason too, but Week 1 in the preseason, where the Bears start is really, really good, and then it starts to struggle. Granted, we only saw one game out of the Bears, one actual game, but that's just kind of how the game went into. Going down cheaper, the other one is Joe Flacco, 5K against Baltimore. I think this one's a really solid play. Granted, Joe Flacco is not Josh Allen, but Joe Flacco balls out. He will throw the ball a lot. I do like Baltimore secondary, but you have to take in consideration, right, with their defense, Baltimore is favored by 11.5 points, I believe was the last time I saw the line, which means Cleveland is going to be behind passing the ball a lot, and at 5K, Joe Flacco can easily get 20 DraftKings points on this slate, right? We could see Joe Flacco throw 40 times this game and connect with, Jerry Jeudy, Njoku, Fannin, those types of players. So at 5,000, Joe Flacco is definitely somebody I like in tournaments. Now moving on to running backs. So I mentioned Derrick Henry in the cash video yesterday. But for tournaments, we're going to look some other places. So I do like James Cook, 6,400 against the Jets, where it's really, really hard to get away from James Cook at this price point. I think he should definitely be a guy that's around 7K. He just has, touchdown upside with this offense. The Jets' defensive line, I mean, Kenneth Gainwell, Jaylen Warren had a really good game, but they split it. James Cook is taking a lot of these snaps. Granted, Ray Davis is still going to get something in there, but James Cook against that Jets defensive line, I definitely like that one at 6,400. Breece Hall at 6,200. This one's interesting because Ed Oliver is out for the Bills, who is their interior defensive lineman. And Buffalo allowed the most rushing yards in week 1, over 200 rushing yards allowed. So with the usage Breece Hall got, like Braylon Allen still got in the game and was utilized, but Breece Hall still had a really good fantasy game against a Pittsburgh defense, which is a tough defense to play. So Breece Hall at 6,200, I definitely think he's worth targeting in tournaments. Alvin Kamara against the 49ers. Now this one, like Alvin Kamara ran a lot of routes in week 1. He just wasn't as targeted as much, right? They went with Juwan Jennings a lot more than, or not Juwan Jennings, Juwan Johnson. Right? Yeah, I'm sorry. Juwan Johnson. So, saw that a lot more. Usually we've seen a lot of checkdowns and a lot of passes to Kamara and just let him do what Alvin Kamara is great at, and that is getting separation from defensive players, breaking tackles, all that stuff. So at 6,100, I think Alvin Kamara is worth targeting. We could see some struggles on the San Francisco offensive side. I like the 49ers offense, so I don't think that way. But to say that's impossible is an understatement. Tony Pollard, this one, some people are liking in cash. I don't like in cash, but in tournaments, I think it's worth mentioning. And that's just because the only reason it's really worth mentioning is Tony Pollard got like every snap pretty much, it seemed like, for Tennessee without Tajay Spears. The Rams defense is definitely a good one, so it's a really tough matchup, but for tournaments, it's worth mentioning. Javonte Williams at 5,800 against the Giants as well. If you were like me, like I love Javonte Williams. I'm a believer in him. Did I think he was going to do as much as he did against that Philly defense? No, he did not. But it seemed like he's the clear-cut guy for Dallas. Miles Sanders had a huge game-changing fumble in blue. There was no blue. So Javonte Williams at 5,800 against the Giants defense, to where if you throw in both JCM and Austin Eckler, they had a really good game against that Giants defense. So I want to get Javonte Williams on that side as well. Continue to go down. David Montgomery, 5,400 against his former team. This is kind of cheap for David Montgomery, in my opinion, for a guy that has a lot of touchdown upside in the Bears defensive, or just defense in general. I mean, if you combine yet Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason, they had a really good game. Granted, you have a split back situation as well between Montgomery and Gibbs, but the touchdown upside for Montgomery is definitely there every week, right? No matter if it's a very good defensive line or a very bad defensive line, the touchdown upside for David Montgomery is going to be there. Jaylen Warren, this one for me is kind of really interesting, his price point. We just saw Christian McCaffrey have a really good game, and granted, McCaffrey and Warren are two different players, but Warren had a really good game against the Jets for the volume he got. Kenneth Gainwell, I think, got a little more volume, but at first price point at 5,400 in this matchup against Seattle, to where Seattle's defensive line is not good, right? Their secondary is great. I mentioned it. They should have won that game because of the secondary, but their run defense was not that good. So I do want to get some exposure to Jaylen Warren in this one. Tyrone Tracy at 5,300. This one's another good one, to where we saw Philly's running backs have a really good game. Giants, struggled against Commanders defense, but I think the receiving upside of Tracy in this one could be a good one. So at 5,300, I definitely want to get exposure to him as well. Other than that, there's not a lot down here that I'm really targeting. I will mention Trey Benson in tournaments at 4,600. And this is just because you're playing Carolina, right? It's the worst. They are the worst defense against a running back. Like in the last 2-3 years, they're just statistically bad against the run. And they just are. So with James Conner, James Conner's upside is there for James Conner to get 20 plus points. But Trey Benson did get snaps. He got volume. He had a really good play last week against New Orleans. Now he's got a better matchup, him and Connor both. So I want to get exposure to the backup running back in Trey Benson as well. So at 4,600, to think it's crazy that he can't get me, 12 or 13 points, I don't think it's unrealistic in this matchup. Moving on to wide receivers, so there's a few more names in wide receivers, so let's just get into it. CeeDee Lamb at 7,800 against the Giants to stack with Dak Prescott. I think that's a good one. Amon-Ra St. Brown at 7K against Chicago. I mentioned Kyler Gordon's out, so yet again, and I think Detroit's passing game is safe to say going to be a little more efficient than the Minnesota passing game. Like Jared Goff still had a really good game. Just to show you guys, like they couldn't score in the red zone. But Jared Goff himself, 31 for 39, 225 yards. So, I think, Amon-Ra 7K. Like, it just screams really good tournament play. So, I really like that one. I will mention A.J. Brown at 6,600 against Kansas City, to where, CeeDee Lamb had a really good game. George Pickens, not really included. It was pretty much just CeeDee Lamb. But to that aspect, we just saw A.J. Brown basically not get used at all. I can't see a scenario where that happens again, to where A.J. Brown is got one target, and that's at the very end of the game to pretty much win it. Kansas City's got a good run defense. I will give them that. So I want to get some exposure to that Philly passing game, but I want to target A.J. Brown in this one at 6,600. Going down Courtland Sutton at 6,300. I think he's a really good tournament play. I mentioned that Indy is down 2 corners, so I like the upside for Courtland Sutton in this one at 6,300. We continue to go down. I have to mention Marvin Harrison again. I'm very high in Marvin Harrison Jr. this season. He's going against a bad defense. I mentioned how bad they are against the run. They're also bad against the pass. It's just they're so bad against the run. Teams don't always need to pass against them. They still have a very elite corner in J.C. Horn over there, so it's not to say that they have the worst, by far, personnel that we've seen. You still have Derek Brown. You still have 2 really, really good pieces on that defense. There's some other pieces that might emerge and continue to get better as the season goes, but as of right now, it's those 2, so I definitely want to get exposure to Marvin Harrison Jr. George Pickens at 5,800. I think it's a really good bounce back opportunity against the Giants, so I want to target that one as well. Khalil Shakir at 5,500 against the Jets. The Jets slot corner just got ruled out, so at 5,500, Shakir's just a safe piece to consistently get. Like 12.4 is not taking down something, but he has that upside to get you 20 plus points, and at 5,500 that does pay off. So definitely want to get exposure to that. Tet McMillan again. It is a tougher matchup for Tet this week than last week, in my opinion. But he's still the clear-cut number 1 alpha, guy in Carolina's wide receiver room. So at his price point, 5,400, I definitely like that one. Jerry Jeudy, 5,300 against Baltimore. Like I mentioned, Joe Flacco, Jerry Jeudy is one of the pass catchers for it. So I want to get exposure to Jerry Jeudy as well against Baltimore. And Jerry Jeudy's played tough against Baltimore. It's just their defense could be really, really elite sometimes, which is concerning. But for a team that should be passing the ball quite a bit, that means Jerry Jeudy should see a few more targets. Ricky Pearsall against the Saints. This one, like I said, he's pretty much going to be the last man standing for that San Francisco wide receiver room. So I want to get exposure to him. He had a really good week last week. His big play was close, but he still paid it off in that big play. So getting exposure to Ricky Pearsall is definitely one I want to get. And then I will mention, so I don't have to go through and find every name, but I will mention the New England pass catchers, right? Miami's down another corner. They're already down bad, but they're down another corner. So Stephon Diggs, Demario Douglas, Boutte, you could say all 3, Hunter Henry. Like, all 4 of those guys are definitely playable. I mentioned Hunter Henry is a cash play, but the pass catchers for New England are in a really good spot this week against Miami with a definitely depleted secondary. We continue to go down in this one. I definitely think Rome Odunze is cheap for 4,800 against Detroit, so I think he's worth targeting in tournaments, especially if you want to get a piece with Caleb Williams. I mentioned Boutte there, Demario Douglas at 4,300. Cedric Tillman's also 4,300, so I think you get some type of difference there at that 4,300 price point. You can pair Tillman with as a run back if you want to go, Lamar, Zay, or you just want to solo Lamar or solo Derrick Henry. I think Cedric Tillman's a nice cheap run back piece to kind of counteract the pay up at 7,000 or 8,200 for Derrick Henry. Some other names: Juju Smith against Philly. This one, Juju's had some really good games when he's had to step up. Royal is out, Worthy is out, Rice is suspended. So you figure it's going to be Hollywood Brown, Juju, and I can't even name the third receiver at this point to step up. So it's kind of Juju and Hollywood Brown. Probably going to see a few more targets in this one. Other than that, a lot of these guys, I mean, there's not a lot that I really want to go for at their price points. So pretty much Juju is like the cheaper one that I'm looking at. Not really a lot else there. At tight end, I think it's worth mentioning Kelsey. I don't love it, but I think it's worth mentioning with the injuries to the wide receivers. We could see Travis Kelsey get a few more targets, but Sam Laporta, I do want to target Sam Laporta at 4,800 if you're targeting Jared Goff. Laporta is also a really good piece to have. I think Laporta is going to have a nice bounce back season. Like, he still was a top 10 tight end last season, but he didn't see as much because the run game was great as always. Jameson Williams had a breakout year. Sam Laporta just wasn't needed. He really wasn't. Like, when he got targeted, he did a good job, but he just didn't see enough volume to go back to that, top 3 tight end spot. We could see it a little more this year, right? We could see the run game, the pass game be a little less efficient, right? It'd still be good, still be elite, but not as efficient as it was. Like, some of those plays that they did were just like one play touchdowns, or, a big play that got the run game set up. So I think Laporta's in a really good spot this week. I will mention Tyler Warren at 4,500. The target share Warren got last week was crazy. Denver, I mean, if you want to poke a hole at Denver, I'd say against the tight end. It's still a tough matchup, but the target share that Tyler Warren got last week, he's definitely got to be worth mentioning in tournaments. So we continue to go down. Jake Ferguson, he's a part of that Dallas offense. I want to get exposure to Dallas offense, so I think it's worth mentioning. Dalton Kincaid at 3,700 against the Jets, where we just saw Juanu Smith and Pat Freiermuth, if you want to say Pat Freiermuth. Both of them have a combined good game, so Dalton Kincaid at 3,700. It's got to be worth mentioning there. Other than that, I mentioned Tongas as kind of a cash play. At his price point, 3,200. I think Ja'Tavion Sanders is worth mentioning yet again at 3,100. He's just cheap against Arizona. They're not the best pass rush team, so maybe we see Bryce Young not be as murdered as he was. Some really bad plays out of him week 1. So against Arizona, where I don't think Arizona's defense is elite, I think they're like average at best. So getting exposure to a guy that's been in the system, has looked good when he's gotten the ball at 3,100. I definitely think it's worth mentioning. And then the last one is Calcaterra at 2,500. We've seen, like, Granson's there as well. I think it's going to be tough. You could go either one. They're the same price point. But with Dallas Goedert out, one of them should have a good game against this Kansas City team. I like A.J. Brown the most out of Philly, but for a value play at 2,500, it's a good punt option to go there. So hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. Like I said, if you guys want the cash plays and the players I'm targeting in cash, go check that video out. I will be live tomorrow. I had an issue with some stuff, DFS stuff. I basically had to redo my 150, so I did want to go live. I apologize about not going live, so I will be live tomorrow before the slate, so check that out if you guys are interested. Ask any DFS or fantasy questions. Like I said, you guys could say that I'm totally wrong on this, and I've been wrong before, and just fade me and go the complete opposite way of guys that I'm talking. And if it works for you, you know what? I'm happy it works for you. It works out for somebody in the end. So, but anyway, thank you guys for the support, and I will see you guys in the next one.